Here's Brody Brazil.
I wanted to share this Twitter thread from the other day. It's by former NHL player Chris Pronger, and it is so important, revealing, detailed, and relevant. He's talking about the difficulties that professional athletes face once they retire, and the transition from a very special life of being an athlete into kind of the normal, regular world that you and I live in. It's not easy. We witnessed this. I've seen it firsthand, but I think how he spells it out here, again, is so important for all of us to digest. So the thread begins like this. I played 20 years in the NHL. I was one of the highest earning NHL players of all time and friends with many other pro athletes. My guess is more than 50% of pro athletes have financial issues in retirement. Wow, I got to tell you, that sounds like a high number, and it might be, but it's probably not terribly far away from that. I've witnessed this myself. It's a difficult transition. A lot of money up front in your life. You're expected to make all the right smart decisions to save so that you and your family are set. I'm telling you, it's easier said than done. So he goes into detail, and by the way, that's the best part of this thread, the examples and the details he gives. Here are 3 problems I've seen and some stories. Point number 1, athletes tend to be wasteful early in their careers and think that the money train will last forever. And then he says, been there, done that. It doesn't. We're only one injury away from retirement. Always. Very true. Something to think about. I had a $1 million signing bonus at age 18. That's a huge sum for a young adult. Huge. Understanding the magnitude of that was daunting, to say the least. I was lucky to have great mentors early on. Many aren't as lucky. When I first turned pro in 1993, a lot of players at that time made around $300,000 a year. Nowadays, the median salary in the NHL is maybe around $2 million. That also is very important to digest here. As we talk about money, yeah, there's a little bit of inflation there, but this is a lot of money. It's a totally different game nowadays than even it used to be. On a $2 million a year salary, there's anywhere from a 39% to 56% in taxes, give or take. Let me try that again. $2 million a year salary, 39 to 56% in taxes. But there's also agents' fees, 3 to 5%, escrow, and much more. Essentially, all these things you don't necessarily think about when you hear of a new contract for a player. Then there's job-related expenses. A chef or nutritionist for some, off-season trainer, $5,000 to $10,000 a month for a house nearby the practice facility. And especially here in Northern California, it's on the higher side of that amount. An athlete can easily spend $20,000 a month. And since the average career is 4 seasons, think about that. An athlete might have $2 to $3 million in savings when they're done. But with spending habits already formed, in a few years, there will be issues. That is the crux of all this stuff. If you don't act smart in the moment and you don't change your habits depending on the time and the circumstances you're in, you're going to be in trouble. And in my opinion, this is a fairly optimistic scenario, is what Chris says about the 4 seasons, the $2 to $3 million savings when they're all done. For example, I've heard crazy stories about guys spending $1 million in a strip club. I know a guy who had a $2 million signing bonus. He immediately bought $400,000 in cars, dropped $1.5 million on a home for his mom, but didn't realize he owed taxes on it. Knock, knock, it's the IRS. It's another aspect of all this. So while the earning can be great, it's easy to spend a lot, and the income doesn't last as long as one might think. Which brings me to point number 2. People take advantage of athletes. You always have to have your guard up. Again, I'm not sure that this is something all these young athletes are ready for, right? The different hands that come out open arms wanting something from you. My teammates and I joked that there were professional deals and then athlete deals. How about this? Financial advisors, lawyers, etc. They assume we don't read the paperwork, which is often true for many, he says, and charge us more than the average person, because they know that these athletes have the money and it's not a big deal. They'll just pay for it. You're in your 20s, a public figure, a celebrity of sorts, and everyone knows you're making money. You're a mark. At times I felt like they had two sets of documents. One's for athletes and another for everyone else. Wouldn't surprise me. Another example, very common to get a pitch for an investment that needs $500,000 and closes in 3 days. Why are they doing this? Because they can't get money from alleged more sophisticated investors. They can't get money from other people, so they're saying, you've got it, we know you've got it, we'll put the time crunch on you. Do you want to invest in this? Interesting. After a few errors myself, my rule is if someone needs an answer right now, the answer is always no. They learn this lesson real fast. Another example, athletes are convinced to give power of attorney to advisors, which means they do not control their money. This is crazy. That's also crazy to me, that you would hand it all over to somebody else. Everything you've worked hard for and have special talents for, and you're trusting the rewards of that to be completely controlled by somebody else. I agree. It's crazy. Aroldis Chapman, Yankees pitcher, had $3 million stolen from him by his financial advisor thanks to the power of attorney. We're pro athletes, not pro investors. Well said. So I understand why we sometimes make that mistake. But the sad part is that shady professionals are far more common than most think. And it's a common trap many fall into, not just athletes. And finally, point number 3, many players have an entourage to take care of. It can be hard for many athletes to let go of friends from back home. I'm lucky not to have had too many issues with this, but we have seen many instances of this. Often athletes have the attitude of, quote, if one of us makes it, we all make it, end quote. That means unqualified friends on payroll, investments in deals because we grew up together, and big entertainment bills, right? Hey, let's go on vacation. Can you pay for us? This is another dangerous trap. Instead, we need to be vigilant about saying no, which is always tough. It's a tough boundary to set for yourself right there. So he started to close it out here. He says, I'm new to this Twitter game, but I have over 20 years of stories about playing in the NHL, financial stories, and a whole lot more, and I intend to share some of the best ones. So give me a follow if you want to hear more and comment on this thread and let me know what other stories you want to hear. Thanks for reading. Again, just to recap and summarize, I thought that was so insightful. That's something that all of us think we know about, but when he crunches the numbers and paints such a clear picture for us, I think it's just important to understand that when we talk about sports, when we visualize what it's like for these athletes, the grass is always greener on the other side. They have it great for a very short period of life, and then it's over, and it changes, and that transition from we're just talking money transition. How about the transition of importance, of roles, of purpose, of the spotlight that you once lived in? Now it's completely gone. It's just a very difficult adjustment. I think it should be a bigger deal among sports fans. It's something we kind of just brush aside and don't talk about. But this is bigger than sports. It's about life. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments section below.